Guys, welcome to another episode of We Love Pets. You know the story. If you guys want to be involved, submit your questions down in the comments using the hashtag We Love Pets, or on Twitter with our Twitter handle at Pet World Insider, or you can reach out to me at Producer Derek. But today we have another person in studio, a great, awesome person who's done a lot of cool stuff with us. You guys might know him from some of the PetX talks he's done. The last one was interesting with creepy crawler bugs, but it was very informative and very cool to hear that there's another protein source out there. Ken Tudor, thank you for being in studio with us.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, we're working again on another project that's coming out soon for you guys. You guys will hear a lot more about it, but Ken's in here working with us on that. Ken, the show, kind of told you a little bit about it. It's kind of just why you love pets, why you got started in the pet industry. We really want to just know what your pet history is. Let's get started there.
Well, pets probably starts when I started thinking about going to vet school, and my wife and I started collecting strays. So we've had everything from, well, I got to tell you the story of Damon. He's the funniest character. I was volunteering at a zoo in the Oakland Zoo to get some pre-vet experience, and Damon was the alleged guard dog. And the zoo had a trailer out in the back in this big area where Damon was, and his job was to roam that area, and at night when the trailer was locked up, to protect it from burglary. Well, the trailer was broken in 3 times because what would happen is the burglars would come, and Damon was this dog that just loved to play fetch, and he always had some sort of tetherball or soccer ball, and the perps knew immediately to throw the ball and play with him, and they could do anything they wanted to the trailer. So when the zoo fell into hard times and they had to find something to do with Damon, his story was just too incredible. I had to take him. But the collection went on from there. We've had a red Doberman Pinscher that we picked off the streets of Oakland. A black lab named Isis that we collected on the loading docks of the vet school where I was working one summer. My first cat was Gata, and we picked her up in Oakland. It was my way of getting over my severe allergy to cats. So I lived with her and had swollen eyes for 2 years until I finally adjusted and found that, okay, I will be able to be a veterinarian because I'm not so allergic to cats anymore. So she was very helpful. Unfortunately, she came into our lives about the time feline leukemia came into the lives of the cat world, and we lost her to one of the first victims of feline leukemia. And then, of course, I can't stop without telling you about my little miniature poodle, Mo. Mohandas K. Gandhi was his name. And he was just an energetic miniature poodle that was the smartest dog I ever had. He traveled all over with us. And he had the unfortunate distinction of when we took 3 months off. My wife and I saved for 3 months. Lived in a hovel in one of the ghettos of Sacramento called Oak Park, and saved our money so we could travel across the U.S. And in our first week, we came down to see some friends in L.A., and we were in Inglewood, and he ran across the street because I didn't have a chance to get his leash on, got hit by a car and broke his pelvis. Oh. And so that poor dog was plagued with pelvic problems all his life, and towards the end of his life, he was having pelvic problems again, and I had to give him enemas and all kinds of medication to keep his stool soft, and he had just had bloody diarrhea, just massive, and come to find out, I was scolding him because he wasn't cooperating, and he was one of the first victims of parvo. Wow. Parvo hadn't been around, and we lived in a sketchy area of West Sacramento while I was going to veterinary school, and my last thoughts with him, unfortunately, was being kind of stern to him, thinking that he was just being a bad pup about his enemas and things, when in fact he had parvo, and never took him to ICU. He never regained consciousness, and I never got to apologize to him.
Oh, that's
well, he knew you loved him.
Yeah,
he knew that. It's interesting because we heard a couple times in there that at the beginning, at the forefront, it wasn't heard of. I mean, you've really seen this whole industry, all these medical conditions evolve. What's that been like?
It's been fascinating. I mean, if you think about my life, I was born in 1948. Penicillin wasn't used on GIs until 1950. So up to that time, veterinarians, I mean, if you read the James Herriot books and whatnot, they had to treat with sulfas and things like that weren't really antibiotics. So in my lifetime, I've been able to see the growth of medication and the use of medications, and maybe now the disuse and the abuse of medications, because now we run the risk of being back to where we started from. But to give you an idea of what I've seen just even outside the veterinary world, is I grew up in a neighborhood where my classmates had metal splints on their legs because they had polio, and had parents in iron lungs at home that we would visit periodically and talk to. So I've seen remarkable changes, and especially in our profession, which is changed dramatically from the GIs in mass. Coming home from World War II, taking advantage of the GI Bill and becoming veterinarians, and then being able to go back home and set up practices in their homes. I mean, their homes were converted, and they could practice out of their homes to the period of time where you couldn't do that anymore. You had to move to a leasehold in a strip mall or build your own, and to now the corporate where the practice owner isn't even there. It's owned by a corporation and hires mostly a cadre of part-time vets. So it's really changed in that way. And if you want to talk about it later, it's kind of why I've changed my approach to what I'm doing medically.
Well, one of the awesome things is right when you were just spewing all that history right there, the first thing we had you actually come in and work with us on was the history of pet food. You were actually our second PetX talk that went live, and it was interesting to hear how pet food and the history, and you really know your stuff, and you've really adapted to the way things change, and it's really awesome. And the last one you did with us, and again, I mentioned it's the insects as a protein, and that's phenomenal when you think in like, oh, bugs, creepy crawler, that's us. But it's crazy because if you guys haven't watched them, they're great PetX talks. They have a great amount of knowledge, but it goes to show like how the industry has changed, how people can see the advancements that as we learn more about our pets. And I mean, you're on the forefront of a lot of stuff. I mean, you're doing a lot of great things in the industry, and again, I mean, it's cool.
I think it's as we started off with that evolution. You've lived it, and you're going through it yourself. I mean, I would love to know more about what you're doing right now with the wellness centers. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Thank you. I've worked and owned actually traditional veterinary practice, and daily the method that veterinary medicine has evolved is crisis management. In other words, people only come to the veterinarian when there's a problem. Then they view the veterinarian as a healer and fix my problem. So we fix them, they go home, and we wait till the next crisis. And so we've adapted a business model that fits that. The office calls are about 15 to 20 minutes. That's standard, no matter what the issue is. So you come in, that gives the doctor time enough to get a brief history, probably not enough of a history, give a brief exam, assess the problem, and then put out a diagnostic treatment plan, and then go on to the next room. So we just do room hopping and not really helping educate people, not really become partners, with the pet parents in the process of wellness. And so I said, this sucks. And it really hit me with regards to allergies. In Southern California, 75% of our workload is related to skin disease and ear disease and things related to allergies. And it's the same thing. They come in when the animal is just ragingly uncomfortable. I have to give steroids and antibiotics to get it calm again, and I want it in for a recheck so we can start a more proactive program. They don't show up until the next time the ears are red hot and the skin is bad. So I said, no, I'm not doing this anymore. Wellness is a lot cheaper than illness. And what I want to do is I want to emphasize wellness. I want people to come to me when their dog is not sick. And we go over everything about the dog, what it's eating, how it's exercising, what supplements it's on, what chronic problems it has, what medical condition it has. And you get an hour with me to do that. I mean, my appointments are an hour long. In reality, generally an hour and a half. But I want to then devise a plan where we proactively treat your animal. So with my allergy kids, we're doing alternative therapies like essential oils and supplements, and doing essential oil treatments on a proactive, preventative basis. And we're getting far better results, and the animals are much happier. I'm much happier because I'm actually doing what I like to do. The owners are happier because they feel that they're actually being heard, and the problems are being listened to. And I don't miss the somebody knocking on my door because my dog has acute diarrhea and I need to hook it up to fluids. I just don't do that because I'm going to have. If you work with me, you won't have that again. So that's
so. The Well Dog Place is where you're working out of, and that's out of the LA County area. But that's only for us LA-based people that can get to. For people across the country, across the world, that might be visiting their vet and want more, what's something that they can do to maybe get a little bit more involved with their animal or their vet to get to that kind of knowledge that you're giving?
That's a great question, and I don't know why more. Pet owners. Well, I do know why more pet owners are not.
Well, we know why more.
Why most pet owners aren't more forthcoming is because they're not in an environment where they think they're being heard. And the first thing we have to start with, and I have my latest publication for PetMD. I do their daily vet.
We did weekly. Forget to mention that, folks. He does do PetMD stuff.
Well,
also,
the one that was posted this Tuesday was the wellness approach, and one of the things that veterinary offices need to do, and pet owners need to push their practices in this direction, is not a one-size-fits-all office call. That I want to come in. My dog is well. Can you give me an hour slot or a 45-minute slot with my doctor so we can improve on the wellness program? Can you structure so that when I come in for a suture removal, I only need 5 minutes of your time? But when I come in and you want to do a wellness blood work and you want to do the other things, I get 40 minutes with you, and we can discuss what's going on. And I think we can push the dial. I think the veterinary consumer can do that because this method ain't working.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's an interesting thing because we don't look at the vet as a checkup kind of thing,
right.
And that's one of those, we do usually go to the vet when it's a problem. So getting there, and I mean, I know we've had guests, we've had people talk about a regular checkup, but the vet's got to work with us too on that and start creating that open door for us to have that checkup and not be that 15 minute to 20 minutes. It's 45 minutes to an hour. I mean, what you're doing really is changing, but we're only LA. Like the rest of the world has to get on board with this kind of stuff. So that
but on that, I do think I think we're behind. I think the rest of the world is actually ahead of us in many areas when it comes to veterinary care and the whole proactive. You say alternative, I say alternative. But you and I both deal with that more and more. So, herbal supplements, VaxiCheck, all of these things that, people maybe around here still go, well, it's alternative. It's not really so alternative out there. It is something that's working, and that's why it's now filtering down because we pet parents have, like you just said, we're like, what we've been doing isn't working. So we need some new approach. But I did want to follow up with you on, you mentioned PetMD and others. One of the other explosions that you've seen is, the web diagnosis and prognosticators and, well, hey, my dog had this, so all the rest of you out there, here's how you treat it.
Right. It's that keyboard activists kind of.
How do we avoid that? Because, that's something, it's tough. I mean, we're a part of that ourselves. You're a part of it. We want to give the information out. We want information.
Me and Rob never claimed to be the pros here. That's why you're here talking about you're the professional. Yeah. We're just here to give you an outlet to share that professional.
But to me, that's a big issue because it really is. Where do I get that qualified information? Right. And as Derek just pointed out, we always say, look, we're not the expert. We're going to give you information, let you decide if that works for you and your pets. Right. And if it does, work with that person. Because that's the other thing I see all the time is, well, I tried this supplement or I tried that supplement. I'll say, well, how long did you try it? Well,
like a week.
Yeah.
Nothing works in a week.
No.
I love the preventative approach that you've instilled.
Well, thank you. And the wild west web is difficult for all of us. I deal with Dr. Google constantly. And
There you go, Dr. Google.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think it was Machiavelli has said that the closest cousin to democracy is anarchy, and I think we have a bit of that with the internet. And here's the problem, and this is the problem with anything, whether it's voting, whether it's understanding what your government's doing, is if you truly want to understand and really find out the truth, you have to take the time. It's incumbent upon you. But unfortunately, in this Dr. Oz world, we're looking for superfoods and super information that we can get instantaneously, and we want to believe that the person at the other end is giving us the facts, when in fact it's probably a marketing tool. So as much as I'd like to be optimistic and say that I can have an impact, there is a responsibility on the part of the pet owner to say, okay, is this really true? And ask just smart questions. Like, does that make sense?
Right.
Okay, you say it does this. What exactly does it do? And why is it different than, say, something else that does it? So we've got to get simpler and ask questions rather than just be these receptacles of receiving information. Because that's, I think, where we're at. We're too passive.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to being proactive instead of reactive.
Right.
It's too late when it's already here.
Yeah.
So you've got to change those behaviors, and that it's the whole thing. Can you sustain what you want to do? I mean, listen, I want to eat kale every day until I have to eat kale every day. So it's that whole notion of like, well, I want to do better, but can I sustain it?
Correct.
Because that's the big challenge in anything we're doing.
It is. And, when I'm talking to people about, and in the presentation we put together today, is you want to think in terms of lifestyle. Yeah. And do the best you can, knowing that we're fallible creatures. And God, junk food tastes good, and Christmas food tastes good.
I think we all.
And don't beat ourselves up if we don't do it every day, but realize that if we can do it on a more regular basis, if we can at least pay attention to it, and like you said, with the pets, the way I do is I don't try and do giant steps at one point. I hope they come and see me regularly, and we just build on the wellness program one thing at a time, dealing with the problem that seems to be the worst when they come in. So if an animal comes in with arthritis, we may spend that whole office call on how we're going to deal with the arthritis. But in that office call, I found out everything else that was wrong. So when they come back for a treatment, we say, well, what are we going to do about this? So to answer your question, no, I can't solve society's problems, but I can solve this person's problem one at a time and make a difference that way. And if that's the way I died, so be it.
Yeah, I mean, one dog at a time, one cat at a time, one fish at a time. I mean, it's that we always say it's that little bit that we can make that little difference. That pets with us just that little bit longer, and it's just a little bit better life that we're living. And I mean, it's from my pet history. It's like before I got started with everything we're doing here, I loved my dog to death. That was the reality. Like we overfed him treats, and I thought that was the way to show him love. And he was a great dog, and we loved him. But the newest dog that's in the family, it's a completely different lifestyle for her because I was educated enough through meeting people like you and the other experts that we have, and learning just that little bit makes a huge difference, and will keep that dog with me just that little bit longer. That will make my life just that little bit better. That's really where it comes down to. So we've reached the point of the show where we like you guys to get involved. We use the hashtag We Love Pets on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or just leave a comment down below. Ask us questions. We want to know what you guys have pet question-wise. I mean, so what we do, that's our dog bowl. We let the guests pick a question from the dog bowl, and then
Not that one. Just kidding.
And we'll just see how it goes.
Now, I don't have my glasses, so we'll try this. Are you ready?
I tried to print them big.
You have a choice of a bedroom-sized fish tank or a bedroom-sized hamster cage, which would you choose?
Ooh. Well, you're up first. You're the guest.
Well, my firstborn was a hamster, and his name was Hamelot, and that was the child I had with my wife. Prior to that, growing up, hamsters were my favorite animal, and I've got to share an experience with you. I don't know if many of you know this out there, but hamsters hibernate, and I didn't know that. We lived in Sacramento, and my hamster was in the garage. My dad wouldn't let me have it in the house, and it got super bitterly cold, and so my hamster went into hibernation mode to the point of frostbiting its ears and stuff, and so I almost buried my hamster who was only hibernating. Because I thought he was dead. But no, hamsters have always, I don't know much about them still as a veterinarian, but I really like the creatures. I would love to have a big bedroom-sized hamster cage.
I think I'm with hamster cage just because I like all the tunnels and all the tubes and fun stuff you can have, the wheels. I mean, a fish tank's cool, but I don't know, a hamster cage, I think I can get in the cage and run around with it, and you can have more than one.
I think everybody out there knows where I'm going.
Yeah, I know where you're going. Yeah.
If I could live underwater, I would live underwater.
Yeah.
It is such a. I think the difference for me is that, and I've had hamsters and I've loved them. I haven't buried them hibernating. May try that with the next one, but no, just being underwater. It is so calming too, and I really believe that we as human beings are connected to the water, and there's just something about it. So if I could have that, I would. And let's be honest, also, my wife would not let me have the big hamster cage. So I'm going to go with the big fish tank, and it's definitely going to be. I think the other caveat there, whoever sent that in, is if you pick the fish tank, is it freshwater or saltwater? If it's freshwater, I might be a little bit different, but definitely a saltwater tank would just be amazing to me.
Now, what size bedroom? Because my bedroom's 12 by 12, so it's not a big bedroom.
Mine's a little bit bigger than that, thankfully. But yeah, no, I would. Yeah, I mean that size of a tank. And we've had Brett and Wade on the show.
Yeah.
And, I'm certain they could create something that would just make it out of this world, and that's what I love about the underwater world. It's the one time I put down the cell phone and just get lost. I've had jellyfish. Now, I've got to tell you, no matter what you're doing, you just have to stop. They're so mesmerizing. And so I think that's the other thing about it is I would get all hyped up. Come on, Hammy, get over here. Come on. You get, it's I can just sit and relax in front of the tank. So for me, that's what I'm going with.
Awesome. I think that was a cool question, actually. I'm glad I thought that one up.
I'm glad you did. Thanks for tweeting us, apparently, too. So,
you guys get your questions in. I made them all up for right now.
There you go. Oh, I love that. The confessions we get now. Is that why it was? Yeah. Why do I have to work extra every time Rob comes
That's
up
a lifestyle change. They're just one step closer.
Yeah, I love it. Well, yeah, I just want to say, too, I mean, thank you, because you have been someone we've reached out to numerous times on so many different issues. And I think if there's one thing I would wish for all veterinarians out there is to understand that we do want to know, as pet parents, pet guardians, pet owners, whatever you want to call yourself, we are looking to you, and if we don't get it from folks like yourself who are so giving of their time and knowledge, we are going to turn to Dr. Google, and that is going to cause more and more problems. And we see that evolving in the sales industry of pet shops and pet stores. You can't just be about convenience. You can't just be about solving that one issue. We need you to be more. And I know you've got some strong thoughts on that. So maybe I'll just ask you to kind of wrap with, what do we need to do as pet parents to get that relationship back with vets?
That's a good question. And the reason I think is it starts with us. And I think one of the areas, not only are we deficient in nutrition when we graduate, and it was if you want to be good at nutrition as a veterinarian, it's got to be self-instruction. There's no question. Veterinarians seem to be willing to do that with surgery, but they won't do it for nutrition. And I think communication, people skills is another area. It is a lost art. It is not emphasized, and too many times, veterinary students are the very students that want to hide from people. And this is a people business. It isn't about the animal. I mean, yes, it's about the animal, but that's not what we provide. We provide cage space. We provide opportunities and supplies to make them better. But the commodity we're dealing with is service.
Yeah.
And so I think the vet schools have to go back, and especially now that we're corporate owned, and take a look at what do these kids really need with regards to becoming better servants and becoming a partner with pet parents, not a somebody on the mountain with the stone tablets.
Sure. And please don't drop the stone tablets. I've been hit enough.
So, I think that's going to conclude the show. Thank you very much. Is there a website we can reach you at, online social media we can find more information? People want to learn about the wild dog place.
He just said he stands on the mountaintop with tablets.
Where they can find more information about that? You want to share
Actually,
that?
it's a little professional hovel in Claremont. It's www.thewellplace.com. It's thewelldogplace.com. It's that easy. I'm in the process of building my Facebook page, and so I hope you drop by my website and take a look.
Awesome. Thank you very much for being on the show. Guys, again, if
Thanks
you want
for
to join the conversation, use the hashtag We Love Pets, or comment down below. You can find us on social media with the @PetWorldInsider, or you can find me at Producer Derek. And thanks for joining us again for another We Love Pets. See you guys soon.
All right.
We're done.
That was
That's
good.
it.
That was fun.